We are looking at self-image strength training in episode 146 and some specific exercises for strengthening your self-image in episode 148. For now, what I want to do is look at where most of us are likely to start with, some glitches in our self-image that benefit from a little bit of patching. Now this comes from Psycho-Cybernetics, and Dr. Maltz really enjoyed using acronyms whenever he could, okay? And this one, perhaps appropriately, uses the acronym FAILURE. F-A-I-L-U-R-E, failure. Sort of appropriate, because this is about areas where we are currently failing and things that we want to do to make it better. Okay? Side note, you should absolutely embrace failure as your friend. Making mistakes is a wonderful learning opportunity. And if you are a parent, I would recommend that you take the same approach that I did with our kids and tell them, listen, this is your opportunity to make mistakes. Do it now. Your mom and I are here to catch you if you really screw things up. Okay? We are going to let you make mistakes because we are here and we know we can fix them for you. We also know that we can show you how to fix them and help you in the process of getting them fixed. So, let's look at seven signs of a weakened self-image and what to do about them. First one, F, frustration. When you have frustration that is prolonged and unrelieved. Okay? As an example, you hear somebody like Mel Gibson or Johnny Depp, guys who are, good people, nice people, and you hear recordings of them just absolutely losing their minds, saying things that are just, wow, why, how would they ever say that? Answer, frustration. Prolonged, unrelieved frustration. Psychological warfare between men and women is something, wow, I could write 10 books on that one. Because it's a lot more than just Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Which, by the way, is a very good book. Okay? It's sort of a primer. It's a starter. Anyway. Frustration. What do you do about it? That's the big one. You're experiencing it. What do you do about it? You need to get it out. You need to let it go. If you have a husband or wife, go talk to them. Now, if your husband or wife is the source of the frustration, then, you know what? Follow the British model. Go down to the pub and talk to a mate. Have a conversation with a friend about this is what's going on. And it's really annoying me. And maybe they can help you figure out a solution. Ultimately, the answer to frustration is you have to deal with whatever is frustrating you. And I get it. That's like a 2-day workshop kind of thing. But this is something to be aware of. Frustration. If you're getting really frustrated, it's going to erode your self-image. You need to deal with it. The next one, failure, F-A-I-L. So, aggressiveness, which can be engendered by frustration. So, if you are repeatedly being aggressive, and if you are... See, being aggressive can be a good thing. Can you imagine, for example, Mike Tyson getting into a boxing ring and not being aggressive? You would wonder, I'm sorry, but who is this? And you would absolutely be right to wonder, why is this person in the ring if they aren't going to be aggressive at all? Because the purpose of being in the ring is to fight the other guy. Or the octagon for MMA. If two guys were to get in there and neither one was aggressive, you'd never have a fight. So there are lots of times in life when aggression is actually a good, useful thing. If you're on a football team, if you are dealing with somebody who's trying to take your stuff, being aggressive is a good thing. But if you're being aggressive, for example, with your kids, or you're being aggressive with your wife or with people at work, and it's just, there's no good reason for it, okay, you need to deal with that. If by chance, and this is not in the script at all, it just popped to mind, if by chance anger is something with which you have an issue, and I can speak from experience, believe me, there is a book out there. I will remember to put a link to it in the description below. The book, it's a workbook. Okay, I know, nasty four-letter word, work. It's called Mind Over Mood. And it is specifically written for folks who are having a problem with anger. Because anger is a completely natural, healthy emotion. Anger is what you feel when something is wrong. Somebody just took your slice of pizza. Hey, somebody just slapped your child. Anger is completely natural. It is an emotion that we should feel. Just as much as happiness, or sadness, or joy, or laughter, we should feel it. What gets us into trouble is when we use anger in a way that is unhealthy. Yelling, screaming, hitting people, being aggressive. Okay, so if, like me, you have an issue with anger, get Mind Over Mood and do the work in the book. Because for the first 2 years that I had Mind Over Mood, I read it. Read it maybe 3 times in 2 years. Never did any of the exercises. Remember the episode on courage? Courage to act? Okay? I have done the crap where you have all the knowledge, you have all the information, you have everything you need, and yet I didn't take action. Okay? So, you gotta take action. You gotta do the thing. Back to the script. Failure. F, frustration, aggressiveness. I, insecurity. The big one is that you're just seeking to follow rather than lead. And I once worked with a guy really good at his job. We were both doing layout on high-rise construction. He's really good at his job. He understands the whole process of building a building. And he was ready to be promoted to foreman. So he got promoted to foreman. He and I are working together. I'm now in charge of layout. He's now the foreman. And while we were talking with the owner of the company, it really took my breath away. When he said, and I'm going to read it, I'm not very good at deciding what to work on. What I really need is someone to follow. That's insecurity. And that is going to just completely destroy your self-image. The next one, L, loneliness. And this is important. So loneliness is mental and emotional self-isolation that you don't want. And I phrase it that way because, for example, I live alone. That would be, I'm isolated. I am mentally and emotionally isolated. There's nobody else here with me. I am an author. So I can go out to a coffee shop that is packed with people, and I will still be alone because I'm focused on writing. Okay, if you are alone because you want to be alone, that's okay. But if you are, for example, you're married to somebody and you have 4 kids, all right? And you feel alone, you feel isolated, that is loneliness, and that's bad. Whatever it is that you need to do to cope with that, you need to take action to cope with that. And clearly the starting place is you go to your spouse and you say, this is what I'm feeling. I don't like that I'm feeling this, and I want to stop feeling this. And hopefully you have a spouse who is sympathetic and says, okay, let's do something about it. Not every spouse is like that. Uncertainty, which is different from insecurity. Okay? Uncertainty is putting off making choices. Insecurity is, I want someone else to make the choices. Uncertainty is, okay, I have choices that need to be made, and I'll just keep putting them off. I don't want anybody else to make the choice, but I don't want to make it either. That's uncertainty. And probably the best example, and I think it's Fluffy. I think Bill Burr does a little bit of something about this, but I'm pretty sure it's Fluffy who talks about, it's when he does a routine. There was some guy who came to a show and offered to buy him a car, and the guy is a homosexual, and Fluffy's like, well, that's really not my gig. But then he goes on to talk about all of the times that he has spoken to a woman and the gymnastics they go through when he says, what do you want to eat? And then he says, but imagine a guy. Are you hungry? Yes. You want to get pizza? Yes. You want to go now? Yes. And done. Get pizza. Okay. There are folks who just, if you ask them what they want to eat, it's a 2-hour conversation before they can make a choice about what they want to eat. And then R, resentment. This is one with which I have dealt a lot. I have in my life harbored a lot of resentment, obviously, toward my parents. And what it is you relive negative experiences, negative emotions. And this is, if you watch the episode before this where I'm talking about flashbacks, this is different from a flashback. This is where you actively, deliberately relive a negative experience, and it builds resentment. The only answer to this is you need to stop. And I can tell you that when I first started dealing with this kind of stuff in my life, and it goes back to Mind Over Mood, it's a very useful book. But even today, if I find myself following a negative line of thought, I will stop myself by saying out loud, stop, this is not what I want. There are times when I'll even slap my hands on the desk to get a good sound to break the pattern of thought. Okay? And if you are doing this, if you are reliving negative experiences, when you realize you're doing it, just or clap your hands or say out loud, stop, do something to break that chain of thought. And I guarantee you, if you are willing to put in the effort, it takes time, it takes effort, but there will come a day when you no longer are plagued with reliving these negative experiences. You will have a much happier life. I know, because I do. And then the last one, E, emptiness. And this comes from having no goals toward which you are striving. You are just going through every day. Now this is different from, say, going on vacation, where for 2 weeks you just kick back and relax. Okay. But even on vacation, you have goals. It's time for supper. It's time for breakfast. I want to be up. Maybe when you're on vacation, you want to be up at noon. Maybe when you're on vacation, you want to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Whatever it is, you have a goal. Okay? And your goal on vacation is to kick back and relax and do nothing. You have a goal. Emptiness is when you don't. You have no goals. You have no purpose. You have nothing for which you are striving. I don't know what that's like. I'll be honest, I don't. I have never been in a situation where I had nothing that I wanted to achieve. I have worked with people who, and this isn't in the script, so I want to be careful about saying something that could identify someone. So, the people that I'm thinking of, okay, there's one guy in particular. He's on disability. His disability is permanent. He has a really good paycheck coming in, so he has no worries about groceries or anything along those lines. He has no financial issues. But all he has is the physiotherapy that he goes to and doing exercises. He was at a point where he was like, okay, I want to start doing something again. I want something to live for. Now, obviously, the folks that were doing physiotherapy were very helpful for him doing physiotherapy, but they couldn't give him goals to strive for, other than, increasing mobility and flexibility, that kind of stuff. And so we just looked at, all right, what are your skills and abilities? What are you able to do? And what do you want to do? And so we started working toward, all right, let's figure out what you want. And that actually took a while. That took a couple of weeks. And when he figured out, okay, here's what I want to do, then we started looking at, and a big one was he was self-editing. Well, I don't know that I can do this. I don't know that I can do that. Just pick what you want to do. Okay, here it is. This is what I want to do. All right. Next step, we start figuring out how do we make that happen. And from there, we built toward having goals. And of course, each thing along the way is a goal. So, emptiness, yeah, it's a big deal. And that is the end of the list. Failure, frustration, aggressiveness, insecurity, loneliness, uncertainty, resentment, emptiness. If you have any of these things happening in your life, you need to take action on getting them out of your life.